Welcome everyone this morning. Who are you? Are you here? Which form are you here in? And what are you? I don't know. Maybe that's not the right question, but Lee, this is an interesting question this morning. So, who are you?
Is the question to be or not to be? That so the question was raised by Cherie. It'd be so lovely if she can join us. I say it wasn't raised by her, but it was prompted by her going down the existential route. So I just thought we're not afraid to ask these big life questions and answer them in 30 minutes. So why not? So I'm just going to answer it from the perspective of just some of the thinking. So obviously it's a big question, but if I think about myself, just two things. I am where I come from. And I think about that in terms of the generations that have come before me. And it's in the context of friends of mine who I have recently been connecting with Native Americans, and they can they've met one particular guy who can trace his heritage back 90 generations. And when Native Americans introduce themselves, they never start by saying their name. They never start saying, "Hi, I'm Lee." They will say, "Hi, I come from this family, and they go back at least 3 or 4 generations, naming the generation, the clan, whatever the case may be, the geography. And so if I think about myself, the story that connects the most to me is, and I think of myself as a pirate's daughter, but of course he wasn't a pirate, he was a sailor, who was shipwrecked off the coast of East London. It was literally thrown up onto the shore of South Africa. And that's how in the 17th century, the Ferreira clan ended up in South Africa, and we have proliferated ever since. So from a generational perspective, and then also from a geography perspective, I think of myself as a Zimbabwean girl from a country village, and Zimbabwe being this little landlocked country in the middle of Africa. So when I was an exchange student in Michigan for a year, my host families delighted in calling me an African, and you know, that little African, and that's definitely a part of that is who I am, is where I come from. And then my family, and I would describe my family as normally dysfunctional. So not so traumatizing that you know, I'm a basket case, or at least I don't think I'm too much of a basket case, but not enough dysfunction that therapy did help. And so that's where I come from. Then the second thing I wanted to say about who I am is I am the consequence of my choices. And that's just, so the choices I've made in terms of where I live, who I've married, our decisions along the pathway, what I've done in my life from a career perspective, the choices I made as a mom, the choices I continue to make in terms of my responses to life's difficulties and joys. Yeah, so I think let me leave it at that for the moment as a way of saying, who am I?
Great, thanks. Thanks, Lee. I always thought there was an element of a pirate in you, so yeah. All right, Jasper, are there any pirates in your background?
Morning. Yes, I think must be, because how did we get to this country in the beginning? And at one stage, I tried to trace back the Klute name, and we proliferate as well all over in through also varying nationalities. So there's a lot of colored Klutes in Cape Town, and so. But I could trace our core back to 1652 when Jacob Klute landed as a sailor together with Jan van Riebeeck at the Cape. So yeah, so Lee, that makes us about a family. Not, but yeah. So you actually got us on a roll there, Lee. I was sorry that you stopped because it was one of those philosophical lectures that I would have loved to attend at university. Who am I? And I think I was confronted by this question earlier in my life as well. And the speaker wanted to bring across that we normally introduce ourselves in terms of, you know, I'm Jasper, I'm an accountant, or I'm Jasper, I'm a plumber, or we tend to take our identity from our job. And that was more or less the line that the speaker wanted to take us on. And then he confronted us, but who are you? And I'm trying to remember if we ever got to a conclusion, and I don't think we have. We were just left with a question. So I think I'll do something almost similar to that. But I loved what you said, to say I am where I come from, and I am the consequences of my choices. And I wanted to maybe just for helping me to answer the question, maybe put a spin on it to say I'm defined by. So who I am is obviously on the surface, I'm a male or a female. I'm white or black. I'm an African or a French. But in terms of who am I that people think of me as, that is, like you have rightly said, a combination of things. So I think we're all defined by our upbringing. So people who have an upbringing of private schools think differently from people who, let's say, have gone to public schools. The job that your father do, why is it that so often people tend to follow in the footsteps of an accountant or doctor father or pastor father, that kind of thing? And then your choices. And the good news about choices is if we don't like who we currently are, we can change it by our choices. So that brings us to the question, are we ever finally us, or are we forever being formed and becoming? So I leave you at that very philosophical note.
Thanks, Jesper. I still don't have a clue who you are. Yeah, so Edward, who are you?
Yeah, I'm going to sort of bring the tone down a bit, I think. It's very easy to get to the bottom of who I am because it's written on my underpants. Yeah, which is quite good. I found this a fascinating topic, actually, and I also found those words from Beverly Knight quite insightful, because she says, you know, I'm moody, I'm tender, ready to fight or surrender. So she's saying that she's got two sides to her. But she says, I never know the way I'm going to feel. When I feel good, I get bolder. When I don't, I smile and fake it anyway. And I think that's what all of us do. We put a face on. We show what we want people to see. Technically, I think it's called covering. So if we were in one particular place, we wouldn't perhaps mention that we were a mother, or we wouldn't actually bring our kids to the fore, because, you know, for women, it might be seen as though they don't want to get on in business. lots of things we hide. So we're different things to different people. I thought, well, who am I? And I thought, well, I'll quickly have a check. So I looked on Twitter. And according to my Twitter profile, I'm a trail runner, speaker, writer, coach, healthy looking vegan, recovering accountant, father of awesome daughters, and Ask for Evidence and a National Outdoor Expo ambassador. So that's me on Twitter. Then I looked on LinkedIn. And apparently on LinkedIn, I'm a runner, writer, and sometimes both at the same time. And I thought, well, I wonder what Facebook is. I looked on Facebook, founder of Trail Running Man, went to Cambridge Grammar School for Boys, lives in Camborne, Cornwall, from Cambridge, Cambridgeshire, and single. And I thought it was interesting because that defined me very much by place, where I lived, where I was born. So, yeah, I think very much we are defined by place very often because it has an impact on us, but we can move away from it. You know, I was in Cambridge, I'm now in Camborne. Don't know why C's got to be in there, but you know, there it is. Interesting enough, my Facebook profile used to say divorced until someone said, come on, Edward, you're not divorced, you're single. And I changed it. But we all do project a different who I am, depending on who we're with and what we're trying to achieve. I think, you know, deep down, we've got that basic thing, haven't we? You know, I'm always going to be, I think it's funny, I'm defined on Facebook by the fact of something that happened, what, 50 years ago, what school I went to. Does that have a particular bearing on the me now? But I did love also going back to Beverly Knight. This is where I stand. And I think that is who we are. It's where we choose to make a stand, what's important to us, and what we'll let go, you know, ready to fight because it's important, or surrender because actually it doesn't really matter. So I think where I stand is who I am. That's me. I better explain the pants, actually. It's not an overriding sense of self-importance. It was a publicity stunt by a company called Runderwear, which makes technical running underwear. And they provided us all with pants with whatever name we wanted on them. And then we had this nice photograph taken with us with our shorts down in front of Tower Bridge in London.
Great, thanks. And all along, I was hoping you were going to tell me what existential means. So, if it's not breakfast, what is it? Yeah. So,
it's basically
anyway.
to do with self.
Thank you. All right. So, Chavakati, welcome back. Yeah, compliments of the new year to you and all the best. And so, who the heck are you?
Morning, all, and yeah, indeed, all the very best to this team of highly inspiring and motivational people. And I clocked in today because I read the question, who I am, and yet Lee then says to me, no, it's who am I? And unlike Ed, he seems to have missed Google. So today I thought, well, I'm going to pop in who I am in Google. And it was most interesting because it breaks it down into two parts. How's it, Scott? And it brought up stuff I never thought about. First thing it said who, and it went on about the World Health Organization and how they are defining who I am by keeping me in a position where there is this invisible lurgy out there. And now at least we've got a choice of a Sputnik vaccine or a Johnson & Johnson vaccine, but I'm not at liberty to take my ivermectin, which I've amassed a huge amount of because I'm a capitalist. And, you know, it's for human consumption all over the world, except obviously in the great Republic of Cyril Ramaphosa, because how's he going to make money out of it with his cronies. So that was the first part of it, and it went on and it went on, and I could go on and I could go on. And the second part of this thing was the I am, and the I am was even more interesting because it went to the other invisible, and that was God. And this I am says, Trevor, you are my child. You are a child of mine. And so it's very interesting. Am I a child of who? The World Health Organization, and being told what to do by them or what the outcome of my life is going to be? Or am I a child of the other invisible, the Almighty Creator? And ultimately, I'm going to ponder that one until our next go. But I just wanted to say, Ed, this is for you today. I loved your trail runner, man. I don't know if you can see this, but this is my new look. I'm about to go and run. The rain has just stopped, but I did want to check in and tell you guys that I'm not sure who am I or who I am, but I'm sure that you guys will be back here tomorrow at 8 o'clock. So
you both called Trevor and you look identical on Zoom. It's actually quite frightening.
Who's that? What's that, Scotty?
I think you are each other. You and Trevor Nell, you look identical on Zoom.
Well, exactly, except that I'm wearing a infinity hat. He only wears a limited 20 times hat. So guys,
20 infinity is a lot, eh?
let me tell you what, you don't want to be playing against the invisible man in the infinity space.
All right. So from underpants to God, well, you know, who knows where this conversation is going to go next. So, Trevor Nell, who are you?
Who wants to know? What's it got to do with you? Is my answer.
Scotty's already said that your evil twin has just left us. So yeah, I'm not too sure where we go from there.
Well, it just shows you, because in thinking about that question, who am I or who I am, I think we've got to take note of the fact that there's almost 8 billion people. Maybe Trevor Carty is responsible for us breaking 8 million. I don't know recently. But of 8 million people, I know one thing. There is no one on this planet now that is anything like me at all. And so you want me to describe who I am? I think what you see is what you get. And you deserve it, Ed. So if you take the time to flash your underpants here, you better watch out, because you might get a couple of old wet underpants from many years of running with a couple of holes in them thrown back at you. In fact, if you give me your postal address, I'll send you a couple of the old pairs, and you can put who you are there. But I think just in focusing on the question that each and every single one of us is unique. And I was quite interested. My entire family is also into genealogy. Where do we come from? Who are we? What are we made of? Who are we? Really, I couldn't give a toss. The background of where we're going, what we're about, and what happened, and what they did to actually cause this individual, unique individual, to be here right now. Really, I'll leave that to other people to actually play around with. What I'm interested in is a couple of the stepping stones, and we had a lovely discussion after yesterday's chat, where Lee pointed out to me that the 3 squares in the Wisdom's logo to Lee represent stepping stones. And I love that, 3 different stepping stones, because I really think that Wisdom's and what makes me and why I love Wisdom's 1, 2, 3 is that we are perhaps a sum total of almost an immediate past stepping stone that we jumped off of into today, and using that past or those immediate past stepping stones together with what we learned today is the stepping stone that we build into the future. So I love the analogy that Lee came up with after the chat of those building blocks in the Wisdom's logo. Go and have a look at it, because there it is, behind Ivan's head. Have a look at those 3 squares. And for me, I tend to have this focus on what is it I'm doing here? Why do I like what I'm doing? What is it that I'm doing for tomorrow? And working around my immediate family, and making certain that we're actually growing around that, and recognizing that I'm respecting myself as being totally unique out of 8 billion people. And then if you regard yourself as entity and matter in this whole universe of atoms that are all out there, that you are totally unique. Then the individuals that you're interacting with, my little granddaughter, my wife, we went out running last night, different discussions that we actually had. These are unique individuals as well, absolutely unique. So who am I to bother about who I am? What you see is what you get. Take it or leave it. Trevor Cott, well, he's left it. So I'd throw that in. Scott, you can try and sort out whatever you want from that.
Yeah, Trevor's WYSIWYG. Yeah, I think that's the closest he gets to understanding computer language. So, Scotty, who are you?
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, I guess I'm somebody that just likes to learn more and more and be able to see more and more about the world and what's happening. And I think the more you can see, the more lonelier it becomes in some ways. But also, I'd rather be lonely and see than be surrounded by idiots and who are blind and, you know, start being sucked into a black hole without even noticing. So I think for me, that's who we are. We've got to try and see, and even though we're not always correct, at least we're taking steps towards that. And I think those people who choose not to even look don't know themselves who they are. I've been short and sweet lately, Ivan. I thought you'd be impressed.
Yes, I'm amazed, Scotty. Yeah.
No, thanks. Before I forget, can I chat with some of you guys afterwards about the Friday session? It's grown so big. Could we chat afterwards? Sorry, I just wanted to throw that in before you.
Okay. All right. Good.
We can, but Scotty, I definitely need more from you. The short and sweet doesn't do it for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's all about the size. So yeah, you better go for it, Scotty.
No, in terms of who we are, to put it in a different perspective, there's so much going on and so many things that are around us, and people just don't see it. They literally do not see it. And we're always talking about what's going on, and our capitalist friend who's left. I don't believe you're looking for who you are, where you stock a life-saving drug in the interest of capitalism. Must be honest. Have to profoundly disagree with him on that. I think that's exactly the cause of the problem, not it. And I think he needs to find out who he is. But he's not here, actually. Other Trevor. I think those are the kind of statements that we need to look at ourselves, and we need to watch what we say, because the profoundness of what is happening in the world right now is a profound learning experience. And Trevor, you said that right from day one. We have an opportunity here to learn. Right when first lockdown started, I think everyone agreed we have an opportunity here to learn, and we can learn a lot from this right now. And either we look at ourselves and become good quality individuals as a result, or better quality individuals, or we take this opportunity to just choose not to see what's staring us right in the face and this learning experience. So finding out who you are is this opportunity to learn and grow. And I think, Trevor, if I'm not mistaken, isn't your email address growth@global from the last 20 years? I mean, you've had global growth written into your DNA since day one. And I think that's a sign of somebody that has chosen to understand who they are by profoundly learning the lessons and learning to see what's right in front of us right now during this time of great learning and opportunity.
Great, thanks, Scotty. Yeah, look, I think it is interesting, and I think just from my side, just to wrap up, I think who I am is constantly changing, so it's difficult to define. So, as you say, if you are stagnant and blind and not learning, you might be staying the same, but you're probably not, because you're aging anyway. So you might as well actually be proactive in the process and learn and be open to new ideas and do new things. So if you're doing that, then you're constantly changing. So who are you really? You know, not the same person I was a few minutes ago, because I've heard some fantastic ideas and inputs and thoughts on this forum. That's changed me, and I think if you're open to that kind of change and input, yeah, difficult to define who you are. But I know people like to pigeonhole other people. And I think that's always a big challenge. And I think Ed's example from the you know, how social media is defining him, well, how he defined himself on social media, of course, because he put those words in to describe himself on the different platforms and so on. But you know, people tend to do that. They tend to generalize. You know, and I mean, I have a pet example from way back in my working career, when I pitched up for a job interview on my motorcycle with my leather jacket. I had a tie on and my helmet, and sat in front of the HR manager, and she started telling me, you know, what a bunch of lunatics and irresponsible people bike riders were. You know, so I was being immediately defined simply by the fact that I had a crash helmet in my hand and a leather jacket, which was actually probably more expensive than the entire outfit she was wearing, but you know, a leather jacket over my shoulders instead of a suit jacket. So I was immediately being defined by somebody else's perception of what motorcycle riders were like. So yeah, that for me is perhaps just simply a sign of small-mindedness, but we tend to get defined externally by that process. Whether you're allowed to actually impact you or not is a totally different question, of course, and didn't bother me because I knew I already had the job. She was just actually doing the paperwork for the person that had employed me, so it didn't really matter. But it was that did get my hackles up a little bit, I must be honest. But yeah, Lee, going back to your story, yeah, and I must admit, I tend to agree with Trevor and Nell to some extent. You know, what's in, yeah, occasionally I do, but not very often. But you know, what comes from the past, does it really define us in any way? I'm not sure that it does, but you know, I'm quite proud of my Norwegian and Scottish heritages combined amongst the other mixtures that make me a complete mongrel today from a lineage point of view. But my great grandfather was the last Anderson, spelt with a double SEN at the end, to captain his own ship out of Norway. Silly man went and sold it to go and try and find diamonds in Jagersfontein, and of course lost everything. So instead of having a shipping line, I've got a legacy of failed diamond mining excavation in my past from that side. And then on the Scottish side, yeah, I've got lineage, I think, that goes back to Robert the Bruce, believe it or not. So yeah, so that's where my interest in spiders come from. So if you know anything about Robert the Bruce, perhaps the spider story might interest you. But yeah, in a nutshell, that's not who I am, because I've just changed. So Lee, back to you.
So are we talking about tomorrow? So one of the things Kim Meredith, one of my business partners in the Dealmaker company, and we've been working with corporates in the sales environment for years and years and years. And every single company we would go to would say, I know you've got your process and thank you for the teaching and all the rest of it, but we're different. You know, our products are, you know, need this, and our you know, our customers are different, and there's all these unique elements that you have to take into consideration when you customize a program for us, because we're special, we're different. And Kim and I would both look at each other and whisper, yes, you're unique like everyone else. And so that's what I would like to talk about tomorrow, is we are utterly unique, and yet we are part of a population of 8 billion people. One of the things that Christopher and I, my husband and I, love to do is to watch foreign movies and series with the subtitles. And I keep waiting for these people to be aliens. You know, they're in Norway or, you know, like 50 million miles away. And surely they must be different to me. And yet somehow they seem to have the same family issues and, you know, all of those kinds of things. So I'd love to pull out this, what is unique about us and what is the same.
Great, thanks, Lee. And I'm obviously an alien because I come from Norway. Yeah.
In fact, you're matching, your shirt is matching.
There you go. So, yeah, on that strange note and this webs we weave, come back with some answers to those questions tomorrow if you can. Otherwise, have a great day further, folks. Go well. Cheers.